Hello, my detoxers. I hope you guys are doing great. I hope by now that you are digging deep into your detox and really enjoying it. Yeah, hopefully. And well, whether you just started or you're into this for a few weeks, I have a feeling you're wondering, how long do I have to do this for? It's a common question, and it is time that we answer that question. Now, it's not necessarily a simple answer, is it? I mean, nothing really is a simple answer, um, but there is an answer. You know, if you're living here in the United States, you are used to a more fast-paced life. You're used to going online, ordering something from Amazon, and boy, it shows up at your door the next day, 2 days later, sometimes the same day. That actually has happened to me before. So we're used to getting things quickly, but detox is not necessarily like that. As a matter of fact, you probably can imagine it's not like that. So what is the time frame that you are into this game of detox? How long is this going to take? Well, as I said, there's no simple answer. There's no answer that fits every single person doing detox. It's different for each and every one of you. So instead of us looking to see when is this over, let's think about this a little bit. Let's process this a little bit instead of just a time frame, a number, an answer. I want you guys to think a little bit more deeply. So you've been on the planet for what, 20, 30, 40, 60 years, right? You have eaten the way you've eaten and done the things you've done for probably most of that time. Even if you're someone who's conscientious about your diet, maybe you became vegan or plant-based a year ago, 2 years ago, 6 months ago. Even before you were vegan, you were making your own food and eating whole food and not eating packaged or processed food. Or maybe you were. Maybe you grew up on fast food. Maybe you don't cook and don't like to cook or never learned to cook. And your diet was totally what you can get at a restaurant, in a takeout or at the local grocery store deli. Whatever it is that your history is, that brings you to the point where you are today, where you are right now, where you are in that moment that you decided to detox. And so everything about that history plays into where you are now and how long it's going to take for you to detox. Outside of your history, in terms of the way you've eaten, the way you've lived, if you've drank, did drugs, lived a difficult, hard life, had a job that exposed you to a lot of chemicals. Outside of that, we also have your genetic strengths and weaknesses, right? What we saw in your iridology when we looked at your eyes. So that plays a role in how long you're going to detox. And then lastly, and I think most importantly, is what is your goal? Is your goal to feel a little bit better? Is your goal to lose some weight? Is your goal to, clear up your sinuses or your allergies? Is your goal to reverse what caused your cancer? What is your goal? And how important is that goal? And how willing are you to keep working until you achieve that goal? I mean, think about something. If you've gone to college, then you've gone through 2, 4, maybe 6 or more years of education. It's long, it's tedious. You just finished high school, 12 years of school, and now you're getting right into college and, getting your degree. Maybe you got had a double major. Maybe you finished school, started working, and decided that's not what I want. You went back to school. Maybe you've got kids. You got married, you've got a family. Maybe you had some struggles getting pregnant, and now you're finally pregnant and you've had your children. These things are time consuming. And we look at them and we say, but it was worth it. I wanted kids, so it was worth it. I wanted this job, I wanted this career, it was worth it. I wanted that house, so I worked really hard. I worked overtime. I saved. I didn't go to the movies. I did the things that I needed to do to get what I wanted to get. So my question to you is, how important is this goal? How important is your health? For me personally, as many of you know, it's my number one. It is the number one most important thing in my life. Before my husband, before my family, before my dog, before my house, even before my holistic practice, it is the number one thing. So, I personally will detox until I achieve my health goal. Now for me, that was the goal of getting rid of the tumor on my thyroid and getting off of medication for hyperthyroid and having my blood work perfect, having my antibodies go away so that there was no more sign of Graves' disease or Hashimoto's. And then, beyond looking good on paper, I wanted to know that I felt fantastic, that I felt strong, that I could walk 4 miles with my dog, that I could work out or practice yoga, that I could work a 10-hour day. I wanted to know that I had the strength, back then in my 40s and now in my 50s, to do whatever it is I feel like doing, to have the strength, the ability, the mobility to do whatever it is that I want to do. So, for me, it took, as many of you know, it took 16 weeks to shrink the tumor on my thyroid. It took 14 weeks to get off of medication. By 16 weeks, my blood tests in terms of my T3, T4, TSH, and all of those were perfect. And by 20 weeks, the antibodies were completely undetectable, which meant that no doctor can look at my blood and say I ever had Graves' disease or Hashimoto's. So that was 20 weeks of my life. Now, I was 46 when I was diagnosed. I met Dr. Morse soon after I turned 47. So 20 weeks out of 47 years of life is really just a tiny drop in the bucket, isn't it? It's a tiny drop in the bucket. And yet, I knew that 20 weeks wasn't enough. I knew that I looked great on paper, but did I feel fantastic? Did I have boundless energy? Was I ready to walk 4 or 5 miles with my dog or practice yoga or work out? I wasn't ready for that just yet. And I knew it took me more than 20 weeks to get sick. It likely took me 47 years or 46 years. It likely took that long. But for certain, it took at least 2 years. For certain, I could look back about 1.5 years to 2 years before the diagnosis and realize that something was different. Realize something was changing. And I know you guys can do that too. I know that you can look back. Maybe you've got high blood pressure that we're working with. Maybe you've got diabetes. I know that you can look back and say, yeah, I got diagnosed 6 months ago, or 1 year ago, or 3 years ago. But boy, I haven't been feeling good for 5 years, or 8 years, or 10 years. So we've got to be real. We've got to be true to ourselves. We've got to be honest and know that this disease process, which is what we are working to reverse, this disease process took time. This lymphatic congestion took time to build up. If we've looked at your iris together and we've seen how much lymphatic congestion there is, maybe you thought you had green eyes, but when we look at your iris on the computer screen, they're blue. And you can see those layers of thick white or yellow lymph. Well, imagine what it took to get there. Imagine what it took for that to just layer and layer and layer within the body enough to show up in the iris. And now imagine what it's going to take to reverse it. Now, I don't want to discourage you. I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, it's going to take so long. Forget it. I'm not doing this. You're going to see the results of detox for most of you, relatively quickly. And that's when we usually go, oh, I'm better. I can stop. When can I eat those beans and rice again? Like I asked Dr. Morse. After 6 weeks, the tumor was halfway gone. My blood tests were improving. And I went back to see him and I said, Dr. Morse, can I have beans and rice now? And he said to me, well, you can, but it's not going to help your thyroid. Oh gosh, that was a no. That was a really nice no. So we start to see the body getting better and we think, okay, good, I'm done. Well, remember when you read your book that there is a process of disease, a process to how it occurs. That we have this acid insult to the body, months, years, decades long. And over time, that acid causes that lymphatic congestion. And over time, that lymphatic congestion causes inflammation to the cells. And over time, those cells break down and they stop functioning optimally. And over time, a disease process occurs. And over time, we get symptoms. Did you notice that? Did you notice that your symptoms were the last thing to occur in that process? So now as you alkalize the body, as you work on reversal, what is the first thing to go away? Your symptoms. Your headaches, maybe your skin rashes, maybe your blood pressure starts to come down, maybe your blood sugars start to improve, and you think, I am golden, I'm done. Look at my numbers. You know that's not true, right? You know that that's just the symptom level that you touched. That you have to go deeper. That you've got to get to that disease reversal part. You've got to get to that breakdown of cells so the cells start functioning better again. You've got to get to that inflammation. You've got to get to that lymphatic congestion. You've got to get to that cellular regeneration. So how long does that take? It takes as long as it takes. Does that mean that you have to be 100% deep into a lot of herbs for years and years? No, it doesn't. We'll work with you on that. We'll work with you to know when we can back off of herbs and when we need to dig in deeper. Does that mean that I expect that you'll never have a cheat day? The holidays coming up, a birthday, a wedding, you go out of town, I know it's going to happen. I encourage you to make sure it happens as infrequently as possible. But I know it's going to happen. And that's not going to damage your whole detox process. You're not that vulnerable. Yeah, let me say, if we're talking about some other serious diseases like thyroid disease with a goiter and a tumor and nodules, if we're talking about cancer, hey, I want you in 150%. But I know that there are times that we're going to have things that are not necessarily detox friendly. Does that mean that you're going to detox 1 year straight without stopping, even if you're getting extraordinarily tired of it? No. I mean, again, if we have a goal and we want to get to that goal, then we keep plugging along and plugging along and plugging along. But if we need a little mental break, then we can take a little time off. Dr. Morse calls it pulsing, where you get deep into detox. Maybe you're getting into some fasting, and we'll talk about that in another video. But maybe you're getting into some fasting, maybe you're going to fruit only, maybe you're at that phase 3 diet. Okay, great. and then you back off a bit, and then you dig in again, and then you back off a bit. Maybe it's the holidays, you want to take a week off. That's fine. Feel what it feels like. Feel what your body goes through when you go to the other side of chemistry. And remember, we're always reevaluating together. This is not a here you go on your own, figure it out process. We're going to reevaluate as we go along. And we're going to see where your body is and let you know. You can take some time and back off, or this is time to really dig in. So, did I answer your question? Yeah, I don't know. There is no specific time frame. I will say the minimum that you should consider, the minimum is 12 weeks, right? 3 months, not a lot of time. 3 months out of, 3 decades of life, 4 decades, 6 decades of life. It's not a lot of time to give you what you need to get where you want to be in your health. Because ultimately, it's about being strong for as long as possible. Or, like my dear friend Nicole likes to say about practicing yoga, it's about being able to get on and off the toilet by yourself when you're 80. That being said, your detox is going to take as long as it's going to take, but we're going to be there to support you through it. So keep going, keep digging, keep smiling, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.